So about mil damage with these red crits. What's up, my ninjas, and greetings to every ninja across the Omniverse. This is OMN IETC, Omni, etc. Back at it again with another build. And it's actually the update that I promised you all for the past, I don't know, 3 videos now. It's the update of Ash Prime. And if you see my last Ash Prime video, we're going to be revisiting some concepts from there, excuse me. We're going to be revisiting some concepts from there, just going over it briefly. So if you want the in-depth as to why things are the way that they are on this particular build, please feel free to check that out. But we're going to gloss over those. We're going to review those concepts because they very much have been amplified due to things that I've collected from the new 1999 Warframe update. And I will be giving my review in the coming weeks, before January is out, definitely, of my full review of 1999, what my thoughts are on the update. All in all, the update has a lot of nice stuff for well-established Warframes, like Ash here, as well as some new stuff and some new concepts to go over. So, before we get into the build, so I'm not rude, to my new subs, shout out to all the new subs here in the Omniverse. Shadow Knife 724, My Heart's Tempo, Super Scent She, I'm probably gonna mess this up, Zagreus _OL, Umar, That One Player, Trixie Jinx, Soy Shiro, That Kid Icarus, and of course Del 0015. Alright, shout out to all of you. You all have liked my last video, Banshee Prime. If anybody's seen this video that hadn't seen my Banshee Prime build from that video, feel free to check that out here. And of course, without further ado, let's get to the build. Alright, so Ash Prime. We're gonna go over his entire kit once again, real briefly though. Passive slash status effects inflicted on enemies do 25% increased damage and last 50% longer. Alright, so any slashes that he does last longer than normal, and that goes throughout his entire kit. That goes for all of his weapons, everything. As long as you're on Ash, this passive goes for all the slash damage that you do on the build. On the Warframe, excuse me. Silence. Okay, we swapped out the Shuriken, his first ability, for silence. And then we tweaked it with Savage Silence so that we can get that additional finisher damage, as that is very important to the build. So yeah, Silence stuns enemies in a radius around the Warframe. In this case, Ash. In most cases, Banshee. And it opens them up to finishers, so you can just walk up to them and complete a finisher. And with Savage Silence, it increases the finisher damage. Base 400. Here, almost 10x. I'm trying to see what I can do to push it to 10x, and I think I'm on the cusp of doing so. With thanks to 1999. Smoke screen. This is on this build. This is Ash's oh shit button. So basically, if he's getting outmaneuvered, outgunned, getting heavily damaged, he can hit this invisible button any point in time and escape the fray. Pretty standard. I like to keep it on my Ash builds. Teleport behind an enemy unit, right? But with Fatal Teleport, it goes into doing a finisher. It performs a finisher directly after that. And a boon for Fatal Teleport is that it refunds 50% of the energy used for it. So when the finisher is completed and the enemy is killed, you get 50% of your energy back. And seeing how I spec max, I used what is it called? We're gonna get into it, but I didn't care about ability efficiency on this build, so that really does come in handy. Blade Storm, it goes good with everything. Everything in this build that procs off of finisher damage applies to Blade Storm. So the Arcane Trickery that we're about to go over again, Arcane Trickery procs via Blade Storm, and then you can be invisible forever from that point on. When the energy is spent on the target being marked, not on the ability being activated. This is and I didn't say this before, but when the target is marked is when you expend the energy. If you're invisible at the time of marking the target, then that energy expense is halved. So you got 50% cost reduction on Blade Storm when invisible. And then Fatal Teleport is 50% energy return. So it's a pretty energy efficient build, so you don't really need to worry that much about your energy usage, right? For this, I need to switch this because on this build, just for energy return, I like to use the Xenoric build, the Xenoric school, the Xenoric focus school, just for energy and things like that. Not much else really helps on this build, like the Xenoric focus. So we keep that on at all times for this. But on Banshee, I like to use the Narma. In my Banshee build, I like to use the Narma. So the Archon Shards switched up a little bit. So I got 4 Crimson all going to ability strength. I have 3 Crimson all going to ability strength, and then the 2 Azure, the blue shards, are health regen, because this is his only way of getting health back. And we're going to get into why that may have changed, which means I've taken off Arcane Reaper. So with that, let's get into the mods, right? So with the mods on my assassin build, right? I got Arcane Crepuscular, okay? And this is a new arcane with 1999. While invisible, gain plus 10% ability strength and plus 1 to final crit multiplier. That means after all the other crit multipliers, you get additional after that. Now at the max, it's gaining 30% ability strength when invisible. And then the final critical multiplier is plus 3, right? So plus 3 times. I need to test this out to see, because when it says final critical multiplier, I think it goes across just like with his passive. I think it goes across everything in the build. That means the sword, that means your abilities, that means the weapon that you're holding. The final critical multiplier across everything is plus 3x, which is phenomenal at the end. As you can see, I don't have it leveled to that much, but that is a goal. That is the goal right now for me. Of course, Arcane Trickery, on finisher kill, 15% chance to become invisible. As I stated earlier, Blade Storm, if you light up a room full of enemies and kill them with Blade Storm, you're going to be invisible for quite some time behind that. Let's see, Speed Drift, Steel Charge. We have Armored Agility because we want to keep that speed up. This is a speed intense build, right? We're at 300 ability strength, right? On this build. 300 ability strength. We got Transient Fortitude. The duration isn't really that important. It isn't as important, it isn't as important because once you start to go invisible, it's not as important. But we do, to counteract the downside of Transient Fortitude, we do have Prime Continuity. Blind Rage to big up the ability strength, as well as Prime Flow, so we can have enough energy reserves to counterbalance the energy efficiency deficit. Of course, Fatal Teleport, Vitality because we need him beefed up, and Savage Silence. We discussed that earlier. All right, so all in all, pretty solid here. The new stuff I want to get into. First of all, I've got Dread on here. I've got Dread. With Dread, we have split chamber for additional hits with the multi-shot. Put Hellfire on here because I have it with the Incarnate Genesis, and the Incarnate Genesis is of heat, so I want to buff that up as well. Spectral Serration. This is a new mod of 1999, and it is absolutely great. Again, plus 300% damage while invisible. This is on a Warframe that I've kitted out to be invisible, majority of the time. So while Ash is being invisible, whether it's via Arcane Trickery, Shade's Ghost, or Fatal Teleport, he can do a Fatal Teleport with Skiajati, get that first shot off while invisible, and do increased damage from that. Of course, I have a Riven on there, Dread Critata, or however it's pronounced. Additional damage, critical chance. So we're doing crazy critical numbers off rip. We have the crit multiplier pretty daggone high, as well as when the new arcane goes off, that is going to be nearly 10x damage. And then also I have Unseen Dread from this rotation of Nightwave. If you don't have it by now, which everybody should have it by now, but if you don't have it by now, you've been ignoring the night waves completely, what have you, go ahead and get that immediately, because there's two things to this, right? First part is become invisible for 5 seconds when you strike 3 or more enemies with a single projectile. So let me be very clear with this. They're talking about with a single projectile. They're not talking about with multi-shot. So they're talking about punching through and hitting somebody else. All right. I didn't spec for punch through on this because the Incarnate Genesis has unlimited punch through. So I don't do the punch through. Actually, I might take the Hellfire off and put the metal armor on. Nah, it's gonna mess up the flow. So you can put a metal armor on. I just happen to be out of space in the build to do so. I'd have to sacrifice something that I don't wish to sacrifice, honestly, in order to do that regularly. But that's not what's important to me. What's more important to me with Unseen Dread, especially with the Incarnate Genesis, that maximizes punch through anyway, so I will be going invisible with the Incarnate. What's more important to me is deal 175% more critical damage with Dread while invisible. So the damage that I'm already doing when I'm invisible through anything else that Ash has got going on, I'm doing increased base damage, and then I'm doing increased added damage, and then increased critical multiplier damage on top of that arcane. I don't have the name in front of me, so I can't pronounce the name right now, but that new arcane from earlier in the video, adding on to the critical onto the crit multiplier. So when you're invisible as Ash, basically you're going to do a ton of damage whether you're near or far from an enemy. And that's part of the reason why we're doing this update. It's ridiculous. This pretty standard, my standard Latum build. This is just what I use whenever I use the Latum. Anytime I feel like, having a pocket rocket, a pocket pistol that morphs into a submachine gun, throw the Latum on there. Doesn't really do anything significant for the build. So we're gonna move on to the Skiajati. All right. And of course, the Skiajati, there's a bit of a change from before, right? Because I didn't have this even rank 4. I need to rank 5 it. How far away am I from rank 5? I'm only 2 arcanes away. I'm not going to pay for them. I'm just going to farm them. So it'll happen when it happens, basically. Yeah, I just need 2 more, and then we're good money on that. But this is what I like to see. On finisher kill, gain 5 initial combo for the rest of your mission. I've tested this. This stacks all the way to 12 to the 12 time combo counter. It stacks all the way to the max. So eventually you're going to, if you're in an endless mission, if you're in your combo count will eventually stack all the way to the max, and the scalability of Skiajati, or any weapon that does this, but particularly on this build, is ridiculous. I got Weeping Wounds in here now just so that I can get more slash procs because we're on Ash. Let's take advantage of his passive. The Blood Rush, critical chance, stacking. So it's just going to do a lot of critical damage, as you can see, and then increase the finisher damage with finishing touch, because we're going to be doing a lot of finisher damage with fatal teleport. All right. Now, companion, gotta rock Shade Prime for any stealth builds. I do so on Banshee as well. I use Shade Prime on Banshee because that Banshee build is supposed to be a stealth build. I know I showed y'all like ridiculous wiping out Eximus enemies within a blink of an eye damage, right? With it, but it's really supposed to be a stealth build with the option of going nuts if discovered. And so Shade Prime, with Shade Prime, the one thing, actually the 2 things above all else that you want on Shade Prime, the 3 things above all else that you want on Shade Prime, before anything else, if you're going to use Shade Prime, you want Ghost. You want Ghost because that's the whole point of having Shade, right? Making you invisible, just when you're when you're close to enemies. The good thing about Ghost, right, is that it works through your abilities. So if you attack via regular means, through conventional means, if you attack with melee or a ranged weapon, you will then break the stealth. You're going to break the cloak. You're going to break the invisible. It counts as invisibility. You're going to break this particular invisibility. But if you attack via abilities, like you use Blade Storm, you can continuously use Blade Storm over and over and over again, and it will never break the invisibility. The next thing that you want to have is Coolant Leak, which got nerfed because it actually used to be better, but Coolant Leak unleashes a radio blast of cold when multiple enemies are near. Adds 3 stacks of cold, so it slows them down considerably. It used to just be an aura effect, so it wasn't like a blast. It was just something that anytime you were near those enemies on Ghost, with Ghost, it would just cool down all the enemies that were in proximity to you. Now it's a blast. I guess it happens every 10 seconds. It says the cooldown is 10 seconds. Used to not have a cooldown, and it was pretty dope on spy missions. Ambush. When Ghost's invisibility is broken, the Shade's owner is granted plus 240% weapon damage for 3 seconds. So whatever you do, get it in quick. I suggest Fatal Teleport because it puts you right back in invisibility. And I think the strike from like the finisher count. So the finisher on Fatal Teleport will break. This is very important. Will break Ghost's effect. All right. The initial teleportation doesn't because that's ability, but the finisher is weapon based. Even though it's an ability extension, it's an ability augment, the animation is with the weapon. So it breaks the cloak, it breaks the Ghost invisibility. So keep that in mind. So I would just do that with Fatal Teleport. I'd use ambush for the ambush buff for Fatal Teleport, and that way, boom, I just come out and do a whole bunch of damage on one unit, probably delete an Eximus unit that's causing trouble to me or the squad, and then be done with it. Just be done with it. Everything else really isn't that important. Actually, I will change. Where's the links? I don't have links on this build. There should be links. Oh, that's right. The robots do the links. These don't do the links. So, yeah, I'm not changing nothing on here because it already has enough health, shield, armor. It has what it needs. I'm good. So, yeah, all of this is pretty standard, including vacuum. If you want to collect stuff and not be near it, not have to like go over it yourself. But all the rest of this is pretty standard. Since I've given a demonstration for all of these things before, I'm not really going to do a demo right now, especially because I'm pressed for time. I got to run. But this does crazy damage. It's beefed up even more than it has been in my last Ash Prime video. It's supercharged more than it has been. And now, not only do you have the benefit of just being invisible and doing stuff unseen, but you actually get the reward of being buffed and doing even more damage, being incentivized to go invisible as much as possible and doing more damage from being invisible throughout the entire build. So this, once I get the arcanes to where I want them to be, and once I get the what is it, I can max out that new Serration. I think, unless DE comes up with another crazy update like 1999, this is pretty much going to be my Ash Prime build into perpetuity. This is what I'm going to be rocking. This is what it's going to be doing, and it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. know what? We will do it. It wouldn't be right if I didn't do it. Oh, let's reset guns. Here's the main panel. Let's go ahead. Not gonna do a group. We're gonna do some individuals. We're gonna pause AI. I know I saw 155 before, but whatever. Okay. So Dread on a normal day. Oh wait, it's doing the thing already. Because of Ghost. Damn. Red crits off rip. See that? 500,000 crits. 250,000. And then 500,000. And that's on Eximus units. So I can headshot Eximus, almost completely take him out. Now, we're going to get a little funky. Hold on. There we go. These are the numbers I should be saying. Yes. 2 mil. So I'm doing more damage from being invisible. Now. Yeah. So about 1 mil damage with these red crits. So what's happening, the reason why you saw 3 numbers there and you didn't on any of the other ones is because the third projectile doesn't connect when it's already dead. There we go. See how the arrow went further? It was because there's another projectile there. The third projectile doesn't get the opportunity to connect when it's already dead. So there's that. And then, of course, with the Incarnate Genesis, it shoots out this arc, a fiery arc. You can see the separation of the crescents a little bit because of the deviation between projectiles. So it looks like it's shooting one projectile, but you see the deviation right there. If they deviate to the side, then they'll hit because it's a wide projectile. But if it deviates north-south, up and down, you'll see them separate. So yeah, crazy build, does tons of damage. I don't know why I wasn't critting initially. That's something that needs to be looked into because I have crazy amounts of crits baked in. But Savage Silence, and I usually do orange crit. So I don't know if there was something like in a field, like I need to check the Eximus debuffs to see if they have any effects that can take away from my crit chance or critting ability. Because I usually crit in the orange. It's kind of weird to see me crit in yellow with Fatal Teleport. It's just weird. Let alone doing anything white with Fatal Teleport. That was weird. That was weird. Those 300 hits, that really never happens. Quite frankly, that really never happens. So yeah. Use my Ash Prime build going forward. Great on spy missions. Rex on spy missions. Holds its own in endless missions. and just does a ton of damage. A ton of damage, while all the while staying invisible, staying hidden, and attacking from the shadows. So, with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, love, health, wealth to you all. And I'm out.
See, it's the big we choose. Let us in, we're the guardians, baby, let the stakes rise.